Today, we are going to be chatting with Chay McGee, a killer Utah, Salt Lake City area real estate agent, about how to grow your real estate business around serving your ideal client avatar. In other words, how to proactively identify the type of client that you want to do more business with, and then reverse engineer how to get that client coming to you. And we've got a couple of example client avatars, one in particular that we're going to do a deep dive on that is near and dear to my heart because it is the same client avatar that I got started in this business serving, and I'll weave in some of my past story with that as well. For those of you who don't know, my name is Josh Schoenly. I'm a dual licensed real estate agent with eXp Realty with a local team in Central PA and a sales organization in a whole bunch of different states, including Chay in Utah. And I'm also a licensed LO with Nexa Mortgage. And our guest, Chay McGee, has been, despite his baby face, you will be shocked to know that he has been selling real estate for 20 plus years.
25 years.
That's incredible. And Chay is extremely successful in that he actually is doing this business and selling a lot of homes. Chay, last year you personally sold how many homes?
Last year was a little bit of a slower year, but I ended up closing 68.
So in a year where we had the lowest number of homes sold since the 90s, Chay still personally sold 68, and that doesn't include the other agents on his team. That's just his personal production. Point is, this is coming from somebody who is doing it, not a theoretical, this is how you might grow your business, etc. What prompted this interview is a Google sheet of all things that Chay created and shared with me. I actually saw him post on Facebook, a Google sheet, a calculator he created to attract more of his, at least one of his ideal client avatars. And so I reached out to him. I said, hey, what's this about? This is really cool, whatever. And one thing led to another. And I thought this would make a great interview for the channel here because I think one thing a lot of agents struggle with is this idea that you can probably reach your transaction goal with just one specific client avatar and going deep with that avatar versus trying to go wide and trying to sell a house to anybody and everyone who's even thinking about real estate. So we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of that. But Chay, why don't you share a little bit of your background and include why this client avatar, which is, if you haven't figured out yet, it's servicing real estate investors, right? Attracting real estate investors and working with that type of clientele. Maybe some of that background would be useful for folks who are curious, and then why this particular investor audience is of interest to you.
Absolutely. And I'll start off 25 years in the business. For a number of years, I was a stockbroker and stock plan administrator. And so I was knee deep in stock brokerage. Everything I looked at was an investment, ROI, things like that. And it translated well into real estate. I never really dug down. And another thing is, most of the things that I know that I can teach, I learned by doing the wrong way for a long time. Usually someone younger than me or that had been in the business less time than me just threw out just this nugget of absolute gold that sometimes they didn't even realize. I was like, wait, hold on. Oh, shut up. Listen to what you just said. Let's dig into that. And to be honest, me coming over into EXP had a lot to do with that, with this agent that also has a baby face and has been in the business less time than me. And that's Josh here, just because of the nuggets of wisdom that he was throwing out. All kinds of brokerages have trainings and things like that. And most of it's, 2 degrees off of the exact same message you've heard everywhere else.
Yeah.
And finally, there was something, someone was telling something new. There was a new idea, a different way to think about it. A lot of what I've learned has come from, of course, the backs of giants when I got into this industry. Some amazing brokers, some amazing mentors, trainers, things like that. as I got further into my career, it's little things that you find, and it's that aha moment. So as I was getting into this, I started off with stock brokerage. And one of the things that I could help my clients with that separated me is looking at the home as an investment that you just happen to live in, as well as the past of having a corporate job and being at your seat working for X amount of time and holding myself accountable with time management. So those helped out. The crux of this was I was listening, and I can't remember what it was. I think it was a podcast or something. And someone was talking about your ideal client avatar. And it wasn't in the vein of what I'm doing, but it got me thinking. When I list a house and I market it, if it's a move up house, I don't market that to everybody. I put it on the MLS and Facebook, but I do very targeted marketing.
Right.
If it's a move up home, let's call it $600,000 in my area, you're more than likely not going after people in apartments that are looking for their first home. And you're wasting your time and energy doing that. And so I put those two ideas together, and I very deliberately market listings to the most probable buyer for that. When I market myself, I was marketing to everybody, and it didn't make sense. I was like, all right, why go an inch wide and a mile deep for my clients, but not for me?
Yeah.
Why am I not serving myself and marketing myself with the same design and the same intensity to do that? So that's where I came with this idea, this client avatar idea. And it's not a new idea. I'm not inventing the wheel here, but it was an aha moment for me where instead of just broadcasting you to everybody, you broadcast to your ideal client avatar and work on that. Now, originally, I was worried about it and I was hesitant because I figured with being a real estate agent, one of the first things that I did, or being a stockbroker, I wanted to go with real estate investors as I'd done that for a number of years and it always made up a decent amount of my business. And I really liked the multiple transactions per client. You build one relationship and
Yeah.
there's every reason to believe that you can do 10, 12, 20 different deals with them. And so I really enjoyed that. And I'm more of a direct communicating person, and investors don't get lost in feelings. They couldn't possibly care less.
Yeah.
And I love that because I can talk numbers. This is what it means for your business. Does it make sense? Yes, no, let's pull a trigger. So I really dug into that, but I was hesitant. I was, if I market just to these investors, am I alienating all of the other home buyers and home sellers?
Yeah.
And that really took me a minute because I was hesitating. And I was like, I don't want to alienate because I work a lot with my sphere of influence, and geographical farms and things like that.
Yep.
But what I finally came down to it is any person that's ever been, most people that are truly successful have niched down. They find what they are the very best at. They go with their strengths. That doesn't exclude other business around them, but that's where they absolutely hyper focus. So I figured, all right, we'll give it a try. Sure enough, I'm seeing, put my marketing in for that, for those investor clients, and I'm seeing a boom in investor clients as well as other clients just because they're seeing what I'm doing. It doesn't exclude them like I was worried about. So it's actually been pretty successful so far.
So there's so much to unpack in what you just shared. I'm going to
Sorry, I
try and
talk a whole lot.
I no, listen, but this is great. So the first thing that stuck out to me is, if I understood you correctly, the podcast or whatever it was that you were listening to wasn't even real estate specific. And the reason why I highlight that is some of the best ideas that you will get in business come from other types of businesses. If you just do what the masses in real estate, especially, are doing, that is or in many cases, a surefire way to go down in flames.
In the depths of mediocrity.
Yeah, there you go. That's a better way of putting it. Absolutely. And number two, it was reminding him, and I know I do this so often when I go back and look at who my clientele was or where my success came, I wonder, how did I get so far off the path of what was working? Like, how did I get here? And
all
It's
the
the
time. I'd
yeah, it's
imagine every agent out there is doing the same thing constantly.
yeah. So that really struck me. And then the other thing that I really want to unpack in more detail is A, looking back, what were the strategies that you were either intentionally or unintentionally employing to get investor clients? And then I really want to unpack what you've been doing because you talked about marketing. I teased a little calculator you made, et cetera. I want to share with folks who might be curious, what does that look like now that you've had that epiphany and realized, hey, I do a great job when I've got a listing of marketing the property to the highly likelihood, but I wasn't doing that for my own business. Now that I recognize that, what does that look like specifically? What has changed? And I know some of it's your social media content, but I think there are some other things maybe under the hood as well. So looking back, what was a typical strategy or how were you acquiring those investor clients? Like what was creating those opportunities for you looking retroactively?
Retroactively, investors hang out with investors. Okay. Money people spend time with money people.
Yeah.
So I was spending time and still do, mind you, this hasn't changed, going to investor meetups and things like that. Now, when I say real estate investing, that's not necessarily what I mean. It's more general investing because when you get into real estate investing, you get into those wholesalers and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not throwing trash on any business model, but that one's not for me.
That's not one that we can really serve. That they're closer to being like us than they are the investor mindset of I'm going to acquire an asset because it will provide me with long-term cash flow and appreciation. Very different mindset.
Correct. Even if you work with one of their first goals is to replace you. And hanging out with investors, and of course, history of being a stockbroker, hanging out and talking with stockbrokers that are happening to invest. And that served me pretty well. And I'm not going to quit doing that. But getting to the point where we say when on our groups together, an inch wide and a mile deep, really got thinking about that. And you were all right, fine. I'll call myself a Josh fanboy because there's a lot of different ideas that I take from you and either implement it directly or I spin it a little bit for my business and put it out there. And it's proved well, like your deal of the week emails. It's something you've done for ever in your business. You
Yep.
were doing deal of the week emails, and I started doing deal of the week emails, and they're great. They're fantastic. They're good for people. But you started doing land emails. And I don't know why it didn't click before, but it did at that point. I was like, oh, geez, a deal of the week email doesn't necessarily need to be just for the everyday buyer. So I started doing specific to real estate investors, really good deals, things that were deeply discounted or troubled properties, things like that, that can be picked up to not only help my investor clients that I'm trying to do, but also help good people falling apart in hard times.
Yep.
So I started doing that. And instead of putting it on social media, I started sending that directly in a video because I very much like video, sending that directly to my investors. And then the deal of the week, you also told me, quit putting your face on there. They know what your face looks like. They get it. Have it be raw text, give them the information, let them come to you. They know what you look like. Your open rate and deliverability is going to be better.
Yep.
So that's how it progressed forward. And so I still do the things with investors that I used to, but I also am sending the deal of the week. And then I started creating to find new investors, the calculator that you talked about.
Yeah. Yep.
And the first calculator that I put out was pretty high level. Okay. And it's for someone that is thinking about getting into investing or has started and doesn't have a rigid framework to build on.
They don't have
Because
their own buy box criteria, let's say.
correct.
Yeah.
And most investors that I've ever known that failed didn't fail because of lack of effort, a lack of drive, or anything like that. It was a lack of structure.
Yeah.
And the structure would have saved them and ultimately moved them forward to success.
Yeah.
So I put out this calculator, which was pretty, again, 10,000 foot overview. How many investment properties do you need to get the passive income that you want? Real simple. And I totally had, because I was in a hurry trying to get it done and I had 1,000 other things going on. I had Chat GPT, maybe it was Gemini. I use both, but
Yeah.
I had one of them build the calculator. And of course, I double checked it because that's me, but it put it together in 30 seconds. I was like, man, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And put it together, sent it out. And on top of you, Josh, I had a number of people, not a huge amount of people, but there aren't that many investors. I had, I think, 8 people come and raise their hand there. And I am looking for properties for 2 of them. And for one social media post, boy, that's not bad.
So, okay, a whole bunch more I want to unpack. Number one, the deal of the week. There is 2 recently released videos on the channel here on that process, a mastermind replay, and then I did a deep dive, literally just watching over my shoulder as I actually did the work of my deal of the week system in my business, like what email I sent, what text I sent, what social media content looked like, etc. If you want to do a deep dive on that. To your point about video. I love video. I love video. In this context, a deal of the week or any email content or text content you're sending, the initial opening salvo, let's say, the script that you're using to start the conversation, I've just found that if you start with text only and then you send the personal video to the responders, more people get the initial message, which means you're sending that then video, which can be personal one-to-one or could just be a video of you detailing that deal of the week for anyone that responds. But the point is, then they get to see you. Like you said, they probably already know what you look like. They've stalked you on social media, they Googled you or whatever. So that point I wanted to emphasize. The utilization of AI. Shay gave you a very practical application of how we can use AI in our businesses, right? I think it's easy to get overwhelmed with AI and all the talk about AI. Shay used it to create this calculator that then became a lead magnet for his ideal client avatar. And then, and we haven't even got to this yet, but we'll get to it. Prior to this, you then used AI to create content that you can keep pointing people back. So you got 8 potential clients from that first post about the calculator, but then the aha was, okay, maybe I should create more content around this idea. And then one last thing from what Shay had shared that I think is relevant. Shay talked about going to investor meetups and the like. If you're not, it's not about whether or not investor should be one of your client avatars. But when you get clear on who that client avatar is, look for ways for you to connect with those people where they're already at. It might be in person, a meetup of some kind, but it might just be like a Facebook group, right? So for example, this is not necessarily real estate specific, but I think it'll maybe help make a connection. I have 4 kids. They all play multiple sports, which means most of my current sphere of influence are parents who have at least one kid who play sports, right? So that is an example. And so I'm naturally seeing these people all the time. That's an example of what I'm saying in practice, right? So once you get clear on that, find ways for you to connect with more of those people, whether virtually or in person. And then also lead in creating those opportunities. Find ways that you can be the leader of those gatherings, virtual or otherwise, for that client avatar. So you use AI to create this calculator, and it's literally just a Google sheet, which, by the way, I should have mentioned this at the beginning. If you are curious about this and you would like maybe to strategize with Shay how you can model some of what he's doing in his business for your own, and maybe he'll share the calculator with you, whatever the case may be, you can find and connect with him. All of his information will be in the description. You can schedule a time to chat, etc. But you use AI to create the calculator, and then you put out, and this is actually what got my attention. This is why I know this works, right? Because I saw it in my Facebook feed. I saw your post, and I think I even commented, right? Mm-hmm. So it worked on me. And now I'm not one of the 8 that you counted, right? But right. It was proof of concept, which is why I then chatted and said, hey, I want to get you on here. We need to do more stuff together. From that point, what have you done since then? Because that's a couple of weeks ago now. What have you done to multiply those results, let's say?
Absolutely. I'm going to back up just a little bit because we started off talking about the ideal client avatar, and I actually use AI to help me identify my ideal client avatar utilizing that because it's not telling me who my ideal client avatar is. I used it as a way to look inside and get introspective
Yeah.
and find out who I am and who I ultimately wanted to be. Like a couple things, like what type of my past experience, what type of transactions am I an expert in?
Yeah.
What type of transactions have I gotten the most results for my clients? What type of transactions do I love dealing with? Type of transactions are the biggest opportunity in my market? And then deep dove even further into my age, gender, religion, race, geography, my state of life, my hobbies, and my industry. I deep dove into my own
Yeah.
analytics
Yeah.
to look into this. And as I answered all these questions, I came up where what I ultimately want to do is find people that are financially minded or have a background in finance that want to retire in the next 20 years utilizing real estate or utilizing real estate on top of other measures.
Yeah.
And it's all things that I knew, but it helped pull it to the top so I can find people that, I mean, I'm fairly relatable, not always, but I'm fairly relatable. But the people that I will most easily relate to and build that rapport, try and work smarter, not harder, and build relationships with people that I really want to work with and enjoy working with. So I wanted to go backward with that. But
Which, by the way, I just want to point something out for those that might be struggling. If you're like really struggling with this and there's nothing like boiling to the surface for you, one client avatar, if you truly don't have that passion about one client avatar that you should at least explore in your market is baby boomers. And I'll give you real data why. I heard these two numbers this morning. The average age of a home buyer in 2024, the average age was 56. That's up from 49 in 2023. And there are projected to be just under 10 million homes sold or listed by baby boomers between now and 2030. And in 2030, it like doubles. That doesn't mean that you should, but if you don't know where to start, like find a market where there's already activity, makes a lot of logical sense. And also, those folks are probably part of the client avatar that Shay's looking at as well. Now, they may be on the younger end of the baby boomer window, but they're coming to the realization I don't have enough cash flow, I don't have enough equity or assets for me to retire the way I was sold when I started down this path as a young adult. So anyway, and if you want some help with that client avatar, there's some great content and training on the site about marketing to and building a pipeline around baby boomers as well.
and you can also call Josh or myself. We're
Yeah,
happy to help.
absolutely. Yeah,
We do these things because we like to help and pay it forward for all of the amazing education experience that we got that helped us do what we love to do year after year.
100%.
Like with you going talking about baby boomers, great idea. But make sure that if you're, let's say you're in your 30s, make sure you like talking to people like your parents. Okay.
Yeah.
If you find them amazingly unrelatable, that might not be for you. But
Yeah, the sweet spot, the one last thing on this, the sweet spot is you got to find where you're going to be able to resonate and be excited about the business, but also where there's opportunity because sometimes those two don't meet, right? You got to find the happy medium because you can invest a lot of time, energy, and effort into something that isn't a big enough opportunity for you to hit your goals, which what your goals are different than what Shay and I are. And there's no right or wrong answer to that. It's just reality.
as maybe your goal is double it. You'll be happy when you fall short.
There you go.
Double your goal. But anyways, find this business is hard. It can certainly be hard. It doesn't have to be as hard. If you can find that ideal client avatar that you're ultimately going to like working with, your day is going to be better.
Yeah.
Your calls are going to be better. You're going to enjoy it because you're talking to people that you have something in common with and you're making friendships on top of it just being a transaction. I promise you, like I work 60 hours a week. Okay. That's just me. I love it. I don't necessarily have to, but I love what I do. I'm passionate about it. It makes me happy deep inside. Whatever amount of hours, it better not be 3 a week. Don't be lazy.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
whatever amount of hours that you're working, find that perfect person. And you're not always going to get them. You'll have people outside the box. But if you're truly marketing and being intentional on marketing to the people you ultimately want, that's ultimately what you'll receive. You'll receive others as well. Okay. So I'll leave that aside. We can go off on that for the remainder of the hour. But to move forward, as you were talking, when I put out the calculate,
Yeah.
I was also playing again, I think it was with Chat GPT on a follow up.
Yep.
And I asked it something as simple as the clients or the potential clients that are going to answer this with interest, give me a follow up campaign for 6 months, including video texts and video emails to help engage them while focused on helping them succeed and taking the fear out of that investment for retirement. You have to talk, you have to communicate with AI differently. It's just in case it, a lot of people haven't done a lot of programming. I don't either, but I have done extensively with Excel. It's a different language. And honestly, if you haven't started learning it, I strongly suggest, regardless of your age, start. Whatever happens
Any
with it, it's
AI
not hard to
platform
do.
is going to be only as good as your prompts.
Exactly.
What you ask it for, garbage in, garbage out. Good prompts in, you're going to get good output.
So learn how to communicate with it and go in and break it. You're not actually going to break it. Okay. A lot of people are trying to break into AI intentionally. You're not going to.
Right.
Go in there, talk to it. Okay. You can actually have a conversation with it, me to you,
Yep.
talk to it, and it will learn how you communicate and get better at giving you the answers that you want. So get in there, learn the language, and it will help dramatically. It helps save time. Always double check your work and make sure that it's yours and you're compliant, blah, 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 legal disclaimer. But I had it do this and it gave me 6 months of prompts. Okay. And so I went through it and I had it give me a content calculator, and I had it give me a couple of other things. Like I helped it boil down my likable authority story with like my bio. I had it help me make my bio more clear and concise. And so I did a lot of this and it gave all this information to me. And what I did is took that and made it my own, of course, recorded it and put those into, I use KV Core, love KV Core, but I use BombBomb and put the videos in for video text and video emails. And I go back and forth one at a time while also sending information for the deal of the week until we can have a conversation with me and my investor client on what they're ultimately looking at. Then I fine tune that because I'm not giving you blast information anymore. You've told me, Shay, I want this. Then we just laser detailed, fine point accuracy. And I send you exactly what you want. And with one of the clients, I said, all right, this is what they're looking for. This is their ultimate goal. Let's revise the follow up campaign focused in on this. And redoing a follow up campaign is a pain. It takes some time. It's well worth it if you
Sure.
haven't.
Sure.
But to have it spit everything out to the point where all I need to do is proofread it, make it mine, record it, and schedule it via a text, email, or what have you, and put it into KV Core to send out. That's an amazing tool that is very personal, very refined to this one client and dropping on them constantly. I can't imagine, other than like ride sharing with them and talking it through, a more poignant way to let someone know that their business interests and their goals are where my focus is and how I can take care of that. And if I'm not making massive amounts of rapport and getting clients that way, I don't know how better to do it.
One thing that people might be curious about, I know I am, how do you go about finding the deals that you're featuring in your deal of the week for this investor clientele or investor avatar?
Because all investors are a little bit different, I've been taking turns. Granted, I've only been doing this for about 6 weeks since we had the
Okay.
conversation. That light bulb really came on.
Yeah.
So when I did that, there's a bunch of different investors that do different things. Some try and pick up notice of defaults before they foreclose. Others are looking at tax liens and things like that.
Yep.
Others are just looking for deeply discounted fixer uppers. So those are the three main buckets. There are others. There's a million types of investors, but those are the three that I've been focused in on. So I've been rotating it. Like this week was notice of default. It was an NOD home, and for privacy purposes, I don't put that address out again, like you had talked to me about. And here's this great home in this city. The ARV is, let's call it on one I know, the ARV is 575. Right now, you can most likely pick this up for 498.
These are on market homes or off market homes?
The NODs are off market homes.
Yeah. Okay. How are you sourcing those for those that are curious? What data provider are you using?
My title usually gives me the
Okay.
NODs, and then I put it directly into PropStream and look at it from evaluation and see what information it has, as well as do a secondary look at evaluation. And PropStream is really fantastic about doing that deep dive on what's owed and just having information on doing that for the past 2003 and then
Mhm.
2007, 8, and 9. I've ridden in this rodeo a couple times
Yep.
to know, all right, you should probably be able to get it like this, but I don't give too many details because I want them to call and
Sure.
see if ultimately this is the type of investment you're looking for. Because if it's NODs, fantastic. I'll make sure to send you the NODs once I know what you're ultimately looking for every week. If it's deeply discounted fixer uppers or tax liens, I just rotate through those, and tax liens are on PropStream as well. And then I just look for deeply discounted like fixer uppers, things like that, things selling below market or recently heavily reduced.
So I just want to double tap on this for those that are curious. So for your deal of the week, specifically investor, more often than not, you're identifying off-market properties where you're not 100% sure that it's actually for sale, but you don't really care because this is for anyone that's using the deal of the week system. The conversation is the most important part, not the actual deal. It's, can I craft this in such a way that it creates a conversation where I can, and you don't want it to be bait and switch. So you do need, that's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying of the two things, the conversation is more likely than you actually sell that property.
Mhm.
And so then asking good questions, listening well, and understanding their motivation can help you then truly find them deals that will make sense for them if that specific deal of the week doesn't, let's say.
Absolutely. But on the other side of the coin, I'm actively looking into contacting those people that have been delivered a notice of default, or lately people that are more likely to go into default and marketing to them. And then both sides, there's a large amount of honesty and integrity, because I'm telling people, for the investors, yes, I'm working on this particular property to find out what's available. That's true. I'm not lying. There's absolute integrity and honesty there. And on the other side, when I'm talking to people about trying to get them out of default and saving them from foreclosure, I am actively talking to investors that if we can't do a forbearance or something, can help you buy this home, possibly even rent it back to you and move forward. So both sides work in tandem to double dip, so to speak. But even more importantly, it shows an immense amount of authenticity
Yeah.
and honesty. But I'm actively working on that property and that investment for or investor for that property before I have either conversation.
So if you're curious about how you might find the properties where their owners are more likely to end up
Mhm.
in default or in pre-foreclosure, Shay was a guest on our mastermind. We do a mastermind on Zoom every Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. He was on a couple of weeks ago, might be more than a month ago now, about what that process looks like. And if you missed it, what Shay just walked you through is how to actually make yourself more valuable as a real estate agent. If
Without a
you're
doubt.
just looking at what's in the MLS and setting someone up on an auto search and hoping that they'll tell you when they want to go see this new property, you're like the masses.
Mhm.
And therefore, the statistics tell us you can think what you want, but 1 out of 10 agents are out of the business in 5 years or less. I'm sorry, 9 out of 10. Only
I was
one
about to
out
say,
of
whoa,
10
whoa,
is
whoa,
still,
whoa,
yeah,
whoa, whoa.
yeah. Only 1 out of 10 is still in the business after 5 years. If you want to guarantee or increase the likelihood that you're one of them, find ways for you to be of more value to your client avatar than the other agents in your local market, or just generally speaking. So he's not waiting for the business, he's proactively creating the business and the opportunities by working. He works a lot, he loves what he does. And I would guess that because you're investing even more time into these client avatars that you like, it's actually like, it's probably
Oh,
energizing for you. It makes it easier for you to want to put in the
it,
work and to do
one,
the hours. Yeah.
one, this is one of the there are businesses where you can create your own demand, you can create your own market. This is a way, and there are other ways, but you can create your own success. You can create your own demand, you can create your own client, you can put them together by already having the deal. And if you're being really brutally honest with yourself, that's what you should be doing anyway. Not signing a deal and then looking on the MLS and maybe something fits. You can, that's fine, but you can make yourself much, much more helpful, provide better service. And believe me, they're going to notice. If there's 15 buyers scrambling for one property and you create an opportunity out of the ether and get your buyer a house and it's under contract before all of the passive buyers agents know it's there,
Yeah.
they're going to tell everybody, not only use you, but you're an idiot not to
And
use.
you should also tell that story, as well. Now, but don't make the story about you. The
Right.
story needs to be about your clients and how you helped those clients create that win or create that result, which I'm sure, Shay, you are going to be doing with your investor clients, because those stories are going to be a wonderful way to attract more of those same people, right? This is a very simple concept, and most of the most powerful concepts are simple in nature, but what you put out will determine, just like what we were talking about prompts with AI. The better
Mhm.
your prompts, the better the AI is going to spit out for you. The better bait, for lack of a better term, you put out, the better quality clientele and interest that is going to come your way. So the nice thing is, like, you can create that. It won't happen overnight, but you can reverse engineer that. If you want to dominate luxury in your market, and that really, like, if that is what you want to do, and it's not just financially motivated. If it's just financially motivated, it's going to be hard to stick it through. But if it's because that's really the clientele that you want to service, you can reverse engineer that in your business. I know people, we all know people that have done it. It's just a matter of getting crystal clear on why, beyond the numbers and the monetary gain, why is that who you want to help and serve, and then reverse engineering that by creating lead magnets like the calculator that Shay shared, and then doing whatever you need to do to start creating stories of success, of you helping clients get what they're looking for, because it's not about you, it's about them. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
many good.
Honestly, one thing that we've talked about a bunch, by and large, it doesn't matter what you do in this business. If you put effort in consistently and it comes from a service place in your heart,
Yep.
if you do it consistently, it will pay off. It will accidentally pay off if you put your intentions there.
Yep.
I've never done mailers. I keep meaning to. I've got to talk to Ryan about getting that all put
Yep.
together. But it's something that people have made lucrative businesses doing that I've never touched. Could my business do better if I focused on that? Yeah, I focus on other things. The point of the matter is it doesn't really matter what you do. The biggest problem that most agencies have is consistent. Be
Yeah.
consistent. Be out there. Do what you do best and think about what you do best. What do you like to do and what's your best offering? And Focus in on that and deliver that consistently. You're going to make some money. You're going to build your business. People will love you for it.
So it's funny that you mentioned direct mail, because this is an example of how you can do something that you can turn into a story to get more of what you want. So this morning I sent out 2 batches of direct mail letters on behalf of clients. So we have these 2 sets of clients right now who, because of their criteria, the limiting factors are the school district and the price range, and the other is the price range and the type of property they're looking for. It doesn't really matter, but the point is, because of those criteria, there's very little on-market inventory. So we sent out, for one client, 27 letters. For another client, I think it was 75 or 76 letters, telling their story and just asking very simply, would you or have you had any thoughts of selling the property? If so, my clients, Todd and Amy and Derek and Elizabeth, would, at least from what I can tell, your property meets their criteria. Let's chat if you're open to. That's actually being of more value and service to those clients. If I don't also use that and tell the story around that, I'm missing out, right? So
Exactly.
I'm going to tell that story to other potential clients in my database so that I'm painting a picture for them that if they've been thinking about buying, or they've been searching, or maybe even they had previously, which by the way, both of these clients had previously had a different agent that they got disgruntled with. Okay. And they're not easy, right? There's not much that fits their criteria, but I welcome that, right? Be the problem solver. And when you help those clients, like you mentioned, when you help those types of clients, when you help, you painted a picture, right? Where you help somebody find and get under contract before everybody else, like they will scream from the mountaintops about how wonderful you are. And you don't even have to be the one talking about how wonderful you are. Everybody else is going to do it on your behalf. Find ways to be of more value and service, to create those client opportunities, and then perpetuate more of that by getting better at telling stories. And by the way, AI is super helpful with that. And you can just tell it, hey, here's what happened. Here's what we did for our clients. Can you turn this into an email, or can you turn this into Facebook copy? Now, you do need to read it and maybe edit it a little bit. It's not going to be perfect, but it will save you a heck of a lot of time and not having to start from scratch. And literally, I do it now multiple times a week where I just talk to it and it just spits out and tweak and adapt as necessary. And yeah, it makes us all more efficient and effective at what we're doing if you're doing it and using it correctly and consistently. Shay, is there anything
Exactly.
else that might be of value to folks who are maybe still on the fence about this whole owning a client avatar, and they just think that they just can't get past this limiting belief that they need to be all things to all people?
Okay, perfect. God, I was just going to dive back into that. Just to be real, this was my biggest problem doing this. I struggled because I thought if I'm doing one, I'm excluding all others. And I'm just going to throw away all the business that I've worked on for years. And they're going to think that I don't care because I'm hyper fixated on one. That's not what happened. I still put out regular content on social media and videos and market updates and things like that. So I'm not giving 100% of my, available time to this.
Yeah.
I'm focusing in on this, but the clients that have trusted me over the years still rely on me to be that knowledge expert and that market expertise for them. I'm not going to let them go because I'm working on investors. So continue to take care of your clients. If you do nothing else in this business, love on your clients, love on your
Yep.
SI on that hill every time.
Yeah.
But as you love on your SOI, let's be honest, if you're working 40 hours and you should be working 40 hours, there's tons of time to focus in, drill deep. And other people, if I wouldn't put anything out there, but I hate all real estate buyers except for investment buyers. Don't do anything crazy or stupid like
Right.
that,
Right.
but bring it in.
Don't alienate other
Yeah,
opportunities, but you're just being
you're
proactive about who
cycling
you want.
down. And what that does when you drill down, if people have seen you on social media, they know that you're an agent, they know what you do. But if they see you niching down, it shows that you have a higher level of expertise and knowledge in this area. So not only do you know what they need you to know as an everyday real estate agent, but you're also really dialed in here, which shows that you have more intellect, more experience, and more drive than other agents because you're digging in. And even if they're not looking for that, most will appreciate that passion, that hustle, and that knowledge base to dig deep like that, and more people actually come through. I've had people since I've started this that want to invest, but I've had 3 calls in the last 6 weeks saying, "Shay, I need you to come over tomorrow and sign these listing papers, or can you just email them so I can sign the listing papers and then get your photographer over here because I want to be up by Tuesday." Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Absolutely. And
You didn't. Are you an investor?
now I don't know if I'm going to come out there and come
Yeah.
help. No, no, absolutely. And I jumped, and a number of them said, "So, do you think investors would like my house?" Which tells me that's one thing that kind of kicked them off. It doesn't pertain to them. And I told them honestly, no, this is going to be an everyday buyer kind of house. But them saying that, digging deep right there,
Yeah.
is what said, all right, let's call Shay and ask him if this is an added benefit.
Yeah.
They still wanted me to list, and it wasn't bait and switch. I talked to them honestly and with integrity and move forward and have those listings or have those coming up. But it's not going to alienate people.
Yeah.
Show your passion, show who you truly are. You can't throw a rock in any direction without hitting an agent, having it bounce off a second agent, and then drop on the toe of a lender. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not the only person that does this. It's not, oh, you have a license, because almost any idiot can get these licenses.
Yep.
Okay. It's sad but true. It's your personality, your skill set, what you, separate from anybody else, can offer. Even if that's just, I will love on you and protect you more than any other agent in this area. If that's what you have, you'd be surprised to know how little there is of that in some of these areas. And that might very well be enough, because you're making a passion about them.
Yeah.
Just figure out what it is about you that separates you and dig into that. Not everybody's like you. Not everybody's going to be like you. But the people that don't want to work with you because of that, you don't want to work with them anyway. But the
Yep.
people that do love your personality, and you're going to get along better and have a better time doing it.
I'm going to share a personal story, and then we're going to bring this in for a landing. My first year in the business, first year licensed in real estate, and I got started as an investor before I was licensed. My first year in the business, I sold 23 homes. My second year in the business, I sold my only outbound marketing. It was all geared towards this same client avatar, the investor client avatar. And yet, of those, whatever that is, 69 home sales, they weren't all to investors. But those conversations happened because I was very specifically, proactively targeting a specific client avatar. And I was able to do that without cold calling or door knocking or any of that. I reverse engineered a way to get those people coming to me and even applying to work with me. And so it's possible to do that in your business as well. Any of this resonated with you? If you'd like to chat and strategize with Shay how you might reverse engineer some of these types of results for your business, all of Shay's information will be in the description with this video below. I will also include a number of other resources. There were some training and even some data providers, etc., resources that were mentioned. You'll find those below as well. And for those of you who may be interested, we'll link up at the end of this video here a couple of the mastermind replay with Shay that we did on the high foreclosure factor, or more than likely folks to end up in default, and also the deal of the week training. We'll link that here as well. Shay, thanks so much for taking an hour out of your day, taking you away from working with some of those investors that I'm sure are chomping at the bit to work with you, and investing into our community here and our audience. And we're definitely going to have to do more of these moving forward.
I agree, Josh. I always appreciate when you have me on, or the masterminds. I get as much as I give, for sure. And like you said, you're only as good as the information, the people that you're around. Working with you with your drive certainly helps me, and I love to help people. And like I said, I get quite a bit out of it. Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate it. And last thing, for those of you watching, take at least one idea from today and implement it like today. The faster you take whatever that aha was from Shay today, take and do something, move the ball forward in some way, shape, or form on that, and then turn that into another opportunity and another opportunity. So Shay, thanks again. Take care and hope to talk soon.
See you guys.